Hey everybody, Mrs. Bianchi. Hopefully you're able to watch the PBS videos that go with this task. There are other ways to do it other than the ways they showed you in the video. Let's take a look. Number 6. Camels are often called ships of the desert for their ability to transport goods and people across the desert landscape. Suppose that you have a rectangular camel pen with an area of 32 and 1/2 square meters. So I have that written here in green. If one side is 6 and 5/10 meters, I'm just going to rethink that as 6.5, which would be equal to 13 halves, by the way, because we're going to use the fraction format in the formula. So they want to know how long is the other side, and I did put in a little reminder that if you look at this video, it would help you to understand different approaches that you could take for this type of problem. But let's look at the algebraic approach, which is one that we learned about in class not too long ago. So if we substitute in the area into the formula, and let's use the improper fraction equivalent of it, the area is 65 halves. And by the way, I just want to make sure that everybody knows this is the formula we can use to find the area of a rectangular prism, or I mean a rectangle, not a prism. And that's what they're calling this thing, right? They're saying that it's a rectangular pen, right? So that means we're visualizing a rectangle. The length of it is what we don't know. That's unknown, so we'll put in the variable. But the width we do know, and let's put in this equivalent of it, 13 halves. All right, so whenever you're solving these types of problems, you find the variable. Here it is, the letter L. You say to yourself, what's happening to the variable? It's being multiplied by 13 halves. And then you say to yourself, what's the opposite of multiplying a variable with 13 halves? And that would be to divide it by 13 halves. What's the same as dividing by 13 halves? Multiplying by the reciprocal. So we're going to put the reciprocal of this on both sides of the equation to keep it balanced. So we're going to put it here, and we're also going to put it over here. Now, what happens to everything in this yellow box? You're supposed to know that anytime you multiply a number by its reciprocal, it always equals 1. Now, if you didn't know that, we could go through the process of simplifying the old-fashioned way and getting 1 that way. But 1 times L would end up giving us L. All right, now over here on this side of the equation, we can take advantage of the fact that we can simplify here, divide by 2, and get 1 in both cases. Now 13, does that go into 65? You might want to try doing some different multiples of 13, like how about we try 13 times 5 to see if that might be the factor. This times this is 15, and 5 times 1 is 5, plus the 1 is 6. So it does look like 13 does go into both of these, so let's divide by 13. 13 divided by 13 is 1, and 65 divided by 13, we know the other factor there is 5. All right, so the only thing left you have to do is find what 1 times 5 is, write that as your numerator, find what 1 times 1 is, write that as your denominator, and then take this number and divide it by this number, and you'll see one of these answer choices.